It's been more than a year since Pokémon Sword and Shield's release. I deliberately waited until I played through both halves of the expansion, but it's time. Here are my thoughts and opinions on the latest main series Pokémon games. So let's start with the Pokémon themselves. The Pokémon introduced in this generation are a pretty good bunch, I think. I don't particularly like all the designs. In fact, I actually dislike some like Impidimp and the Meowth lines. But the ones I do like make up for that. The Roller Cola line, Sirfetch'd, and my sad little Corsola line are pretty good. Bringing back regional variants was a nice touch too. Although I really begin to wonder how they choose which Pokémon to give variants. Why does Meowth get 2? And honestly, why does Rapidash not have wings? Yes, that's a personal gripe, but think about it. The point of Ponyta was that it's a little pony who becomes a mythical unicorn. In Galar, Ponyta is a little unicorn that becomes bigger unicorn. If they didn't want to give Rapidash a flying type, they didn't have to. I mean, there are winged Pokemon that don't have that type. The fossil Pokemon are a clever little addition. I just wish that we could breed them. There's a water dragon I actually like, and I can't breed more of these little abominations. How sad. Anyway, there's something about the box art legendaries that made me laugh. Zacian, Zamazenta, 2 Pokemon whose names start with Z and are found in the Slumbering Weald. That's a clever little Easter egg, so kudos to the creators for that. The new Dynamax feature though was kinda lackluster in my opinion. I just felt like they combined Mega Evolutions and Z moves like they were just running out of ideas. Basically, the new Pokemon are pretty cool. Not perfect, but that's okay. Sword and Shield's promo trailers made a point of emphasizing the customization feature. Anyone who knows me knows that fashion has never been one of my biggest interests, but there was a pretty nice selection of clothes to choose from, and I have a friend who spent pretty much all her Poké dollars on clothes. Good girl, big up yourself. What I'll say about the clothing options is that the clown suit you have to wear when you're riding your bicycle is hideous. Plus it hides your custom outfit. And I wish we had more options for our backpack styles. All our bags are in the same huge, hideous duffel bag style, and I wish I could have changed it. As for me, I was more concerned with my avatar itself. One of my favorite aspects of gaming has always been changing the look of my avatar, and I feel more invested in the gameplay when I can do this. I wanted to make my character look more like me, but I couldn't. I know Pokémon is a Japanese franchise, and so they probably don't hear about issues of representation in media, but your only option in starting this game is to choose a straight-haired avatar. And later on, the only hairstyle that I'd consider black is the cane rose. Not to mention, facial features can't be changed. Yes, there have been more options in Pokemon games lately, but having played even free games that have much more customizability, I've been very disappointed in the latest Pokemon games. I don't know. Is it really so hard to add more options? One final thing I'll add is that it would have been nice to be able to change the color of the Rotom phone. Hop has an awesome looking blue phone that I want. All in all, the customization was lacking. The lore of the Galar region is probably good, but we're not given enough for me to know. There are lots of hints dropped here and there like the Turffield geoglyph and the Diglett statues outside Stoneside, but they're not properly expanded upon. Which Pokemon is depicted in the geoglyph? It looks like Gigantamax Toxtricity, but not having an actual in-game event or storyline that demonstrates this is a serious waste. Why not have it be some legendary that you can catch later on? Honestly, the lore was so unimpressive that I wasn't particularly engaged by it. And I generally love lore and world building. It was somewhat confusing too. The saddest thing about the Galar region's lore is that there is so little really connecting it to other regions. England was the leader of a worldwide empire. It used to be called the Empire on which the sun never sets. If any of the Pokémon regions would be intricately linked with other regions, the one based on the UK would be it. Okay, so I'm going to come out and say it. The story was terrible. I feel like it was everybody's story but the player characters. Leon takes care of most of the issues that pop up. Sonia is the one who solves the mystery of the Galar region's history, and Hop is the one who has to struggle with living not only in his brother's shadow, but the player characters. Even something as cliche as having the first kings of Galar be the player characters' ancestors would have been better than what we got. At least then, I feel my character was actually part of the story. They could have had that be the reason the Box Legendary chooses the character as its trainer. And then the big, oh so shocking reveal at the end with Chairman Rose was bad in every way. There was literally no reason for Rose to make his decision to interrupt the league tournament and release Eternatus. Galar literally has centuries before it runs out of energy. He could have waited. What's the moral of that story anyway? Are people of the real world not supposed to try to prepare for a future where non-renewable energy sources like fossil fuels are depleted? And yes, speaking of Eternatus, how does Rose get it? I can understand that they'd want Rose's villainy to be a shocking reveal, but a more engaging story would have had us see the progression of the antagonist's plans as he gains his secret weapon. The DLC was an improvement though. It feels like the player character is actually doing something. We had specific tasks to accomplish, but again there are parts that felt lazy. For me, finding out that Clara and Avery, two characters in the Sword and Shield Isle of Armor respectively, had the same plot and almost the same dialogue was a huge disappointment. What's the point of creating two different versions of the same character? The graphics and animation are, well, good and bad. Galar has some beautiful scenes. The geoglyph in Turfield is one of my absolute favorite locations. If I was a tourist in the Galar region, well, I kind of am, aren't I? I'd have taken tons of pictures of this location. And I did save lots of screenshots and videos of the many gorgeous locales. Having the shadow of the clouds pass over my avatar was actually a nice touch, and the sunsets were beautiful. It was definitely a step up from the previous titles, though there were a few hiccups like the infamous trees and the fact that Sonia's hair looks like it's made out of Play-Doh. But the animation is definitely an issue for me. Instead of animating the NPCs or even the player character, they sometimes just cut to black and add text to tell you what the characters are doing. There's even a point in the DLC where Sonia turns around and hides what she's doing so the devs didn't have to animate her using her Pokémon Finder. And sometimes the sprites are so bland and lifeless that they had to add a text box to let you know what the Pokémon are doing. And sweet Lord Helix, look at Zacian turn. Then there are the battles. Don't get me wrong, there are some amazing attack animations, especially the signature moves. But at the same time, you have Pokemon jumping by sprites just being wholesale lifted up without their legs bending at all. Endured battles have generic psychedelic backgrounds, which feels jarring after seeing so many beautiful scenes for more common battle areas. In the overworld, some swimming Pokemon just look like they're walking beneath the surface. And since there are so many Pokemon walking around in the grass, I was disappointed to find that I couldn't see my Pokemon hanging around at the daycare when I leave them. I mean, I could see and interact with the little sprites in Pokemon Silver's daycare, and even Let's Go allows you to see your Pokemon when you leave them in that daycare. Why doesn't Sword have this feature? And the follow mechanic that's for better or worse limited to the DLC? My poor Pokemon are slow and too stupid to know to go around obstacles to get to me. They pop in and out of existence instead of being animated returning to and coming out of their Pokeballs. And some Pokemon that should be able to swim wait on the shore as I head out into the sea. I'm glad that Pokemon moved with the times and made their games 3D, but I think they're moving a bit too slowly. When you play a 3D game, you expect things to look more realistic. Instead, Pokemon has descended into this uncanny valley. For me, the biggest issue is that finned Pokemon are animated swimming in the air in battles, and when they're following me. I know it's pedantic, but I actively avoid keeping certain Pokemon on my team because I hate seeing them swimming in the air. And that's sad to me because I love water types. Yes, there's a lot that's okay and even good about the graphics and animation, but there's a lot to be desired. They left the game feeling unpolished and unfinished. I hope they manage to iron these out for the next games. In terms of gameplay, Sword and Shield are basically just Pokemon games, except in 3D. It's the same style of playing with some small differences like the experience share being on all the time, and the game telling you which moves are super effective. I'm sort of torn on this one. On one hand, I don't have to think too hard. Once you've played one Pokemon game, you've played them all. There are a few surprises, so you can just have some mindless fun. At the same time though, it would be nice to have the games evolve. My first Final Fantasy game was 7. It's a turn-based game like Pokemon, but the latest entries have battle mechanics that are far closer to real-time battles. Every game is a new experience. The difference between the FF franchise and Pokemon though is that you can transfer your battlers from one game to the other. But hey, the recent addition to Pokemon Go allows you to transfer to home, and therefore to Sword and Shield. It can't be too hard to change up gameplay while still allowing us to transfer Pokemon from one game to another. I would like if the game didn't tell me when moves are super effective though. Memorizing type effectiveness was fun and rewarding in the early games. Not everything needs to be handed to us. And then there's something that annoys me but doesn't seem to bother many other people. Why do I have to fish in specific locations? This is a decision they made for the newer games, but in the older games, you could fish just about anywhere within entire bodies of water. Why this change? It makes no sense to me. Water-dwelling Pokemon swim around, you know? I don't know if it's about hardware capabilities, but it just seems weird to me. So the gameplay is okay, I guess, but I wish it was better. Pokemon Sword was a good way to pass time, but I find myself extremely disappointed with it. I feel like it could have been so much more. Part of me wonders if I'll be continuing with the franchise after this, and that saddens me. It just feels like they're not putting in the effort to make it as good as it could be. I'm still in love with the Pokemon world though, and I do hope future games are more appealing. Anyway trainers, that's it for this video. Thanks for sticking around to the end. I've been Ken Kwame, and I'll see you next time.